Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to say that we're now commencing our ordinary meeting with Council, although it feels slightly extraordinary to be here, Thursday the 23rd of April 2026 at the Crago Mill Precinct. Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon's receipt of a partial occupation certificate allows staff to occupy these buildings and for us to hold this meeting while the remaining stage one outdoor landscaping and the beautification works are completed. Staff will move into the new administration building and the library at the beginning of May. The completion of the $42 million Crago Mill Precinct brings together council services, community facilities, a new state-of-the-art library, and an emergency operations centre in one central location. This significant generational investment in civic infrastructure will serve the Yass Valley community for decades to come. We're positioned at the gateway to the Yass Town Centre. The precinct will revitalise the southern entrance to our town. This is an historic milestone. Tonight's first council meeting here at the Crago Mill Precinct is very special to all of us who have been part of this journey. Whether you are joining us online for the meeting or in person tonight, and I'd like to acknowledge those of our community who come down here tonight, it marks the full activation of a precinct, which represents a significant start to the revitalisation of the Yass CBD, our main street, and our local economy. Moving our team into the Crago Mill Precinct is a major leap forward in our ability to deliver the best service possible to our residents and visitors and attract and retain a professional team in a modern workplace. The precinct, including our new library building, will quickly become a destination experience for all ages to connect, learn, work, and celebrate. It represents a generational investment in our civic life, business, cultural events, and even safety infrastructure, with the administration building doubling as an emergency command centre, while the library can become a refuge in climatic events such as heat waves. We look so much forward to completing the finishing touches, including the structural support and the sympathetic fencing and landscaping around the heritage Crago Mill itself, and continuing our precinct partnership with our Ngunnawal elders to create a yarning circle and storytelling outlets by the end of the year. On behalf of Council, I wish to express my gratitude to Yass High School for graciously hosting us over the last 2 years, and to our management team, led by Ms. Galen Burley, our CEO, for their diligent oversight of the build project and the community engagement. Now, a community open day will be held on Saturday the 9th of May with further details to be announced. This is a very special project for our community. It's one we've been waiting for such a long time. I can't wait to see this space activated by people not only just coming in to pay their bills as business as usual and borrowing a book, but connecting and engaging and allowing us to serve them to the best of our ability as councillors and council staff. I'd now like to pass on to our CEO, Ms. Galen Burley, who will no doubt want to thank a lot of people, but also to just showcase what has been achieved here in such a short amount of time. And I'm so grateful that we've done it in the budget that we have. Well done, Galen.
Good evening, everyone. Today marks a milestone achievement for Council to be able to move or hold this important meeting in the Crago Mill Precinct. This is the first of a staged approach where we'll be moving in. Council will be moving in on Friday next week, and then be able to open the doors again on the Monday. The library will then be closed between the Monday to the Friday, where we'll be transitioning the library materials, and then we will have the open day on the Saturday. This facility marks more than just a building for Council. It will change the way Council staff work. We'll be able to interact better with each other, breaking down silos that have been there previously. And also, more importantly, it'll change the way that Council staff can interact with our community, which I think is very, very important. I'd like to thank, in particular, our project team. And I'm not going to name who they are because it's the project team swells and reduces as the project has taken life. We obviously have project managers who've got a construction background. We've had IT specialists. We've had our customer service looking at how we can best facilitate that service, and even our DA planners to be able to have designated rooms that we can engage with the community. It has been an absolute mammoth effort, and the sprint to the end has been absolutely extraordinary. The staff working incredible hours alongside our contractors, and I'd like to thank each and every one of our staff for their valuable input that's got us here today. And the job's not done yet, but we will certainly be moving in over the next few weeks. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask Excellence to now stand for our acknowledgement of the poetry and our prayer, and I'm staff as well. And I'd like to acknowledge that we have Auntie Wendy Brown here, one of our Manawal elders. So firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that Yass Valley Council recognises the Manawal people, the traditional custodians of the land, water and sky. And we pay our respects to you, our elders, and we acknowledge your future emerging leaders as well. And we extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who live in the Yass Valley local government area. Please welcome Auntie Wendy Brown. Thank you.
Yeah, Mum. Hello. For those who don't know me, my name's Wendy Brown. Oh, I'm a bit nervous here. And I'm an Ngunnawal woman, the elder of Ngunnawal country. I grew up on the Yass River. And I stand here today on the land of our ancestors. I pay my respects to my elders, past and present, and emerging again because I'm blessed. I also pay my respect to country, the land that holds us all. May we walk together, may we all walk together. Tomorrow, may we work for respect. May our council work in harmony with the spirit of this place. Thank you all, and I wish us every success as we begin this new chapter together. Thank you, and welcome. Thank you.
Auntie Wendy, you made a million long flyovers.
Yes, I did.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was a great pleasure to now introduce Reverend Luke Colling to do our prayer.
Let us pray. God of all provision and goodness, we give you thanks for the Yass Valley. Thank you for the beauty of this land and the strength of this community where we can live in peace and harmony. On this day, we give you thanks for this new council precinct. We thank you for all those who have planned and worked on its construction. We pray your blessing upon all the business that will be done here over the coming years. May all who serve in council, may all who work for the community do so with a spirit of love, generosity and goodness, so that we, as a community, may flourish and show the goodness and love of your gospel to all who live here. We ask this blessing in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
And may I just say a thank you to Reverend Luke and all our local pastors who I know pray for us daily and for our civic leadership. Thank you, councillors. Please be seated. Councillors, we have a full house. There are no apologies. However, I would like to introduce Director Anthony Neal on Teams for our environment and planning purposes, and Edmund Ridge, that's sitting in the chair to assist us. Do we have any declarations of continuing interest in special disclosure? Thank you, Councillor.
Madam Mayor, I've got Class 2, 6.6 and 9.2, Bengo Wind Farm. the YVC money.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, oh, sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine. I know councillors aren't allowed to appear on Zoom companies, but our staff, executive staff, but this is one thing.
I think these terms of it's my understanding that it's those who are functioning or those. Yeah,
Let's try.
Councillors, can we now move to the confirmation of minutes?
It was the name of one of the people who was selected for our committees. And there was no consent things.
And the change of the amount. Thank you.
Item 6.13 of minutes. Point 2 should read Mr. Paul Barnes, not Mr. Peter Barnes. That's my side. Just right.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have a seconder? Seconded. Councillor Sloan. That is speakers for adjustment. Councillors, if you're prepared to vote on those minutes, all those in favour? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to go into logo items 5, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, 6.16, 6.18, 7.1, 8.1.
It's not showing the screen.
I haven't moved up for
Like that's not duplicating. It's not duplicating.
Just screen.
You read that again.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So 6.5, that's the development application update for February.
I don't like
Is it right?
No, I would like to take it out.
Oh, sorry.
Talk about it.
Certainly.
That's the essence.
So 6.10.
No,
That's it.
no, I'm going to take it out as well. Fine. Those
12.
This one's one. I'm trying to. I think it's wrong.
18. 7.1. 8.1.
Gradual to be out.
Okay. All right. So, councillors, if you're prepared to vote, if I can have a mover and a seconder to move on to the vote. Confirming 9.1 and 9.3. Yeah, I think I'm gonna.
Bring out the one to the room.
So read up certainly one for the now in 6.11 in investment and borrowing. 6.12 the report on the 25 to 26 operational plan. 6.16 the monthly key income and outgoing correspondence. 6.18 the additional nominations for an open space advisory committee. 8.1 questions on notice from council. 9.1 minutes of the Canberra Region Joint Organisation meeting on March 2026, and 9.3 minutes of the board listening to the committee. If I could have a move up.
Take out 616. That'd be great.
That's
It was the drive.
So I'll just go through the numbers one more time. We've got 611, 612, 617, 618, 8.1 and 9.3. Do I have a mover to do those in order? Seconded, councillor. Councillor, would you like to speak to that?
Nothing.
Let's put it to vote. All those in favour? That's a vote. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce a mayoral list. It's concerning the Bondo Wind Farm EPBC referral submission opportunity. The motion is that Yass Valley Council makes a submission by April 30th, 2026 under the EPBC process for Neoen's Bondo Wind Farm, specifically addressing the project's impact along with its potential contribution to the cumulative impact of state significant renewable energy projects constructed, approved or in scope for our region. Councillors, I seek a second of that round. Thank you. Councillors, we've just become aware that a submission window has opened, and this is an opportunity for us to alert not just the state but also Commonwealth of the potential impacts of cumulative projects, along with the items that have been submitted that show that there is potential impact on critically endangered, and vulnerable species within the Yass Valley. The reports that the Neoen Bondo Wind Farm have actually presented themselves to the EPBC process does indicate that there are potentially unmitigatable impacts on some of these species. So I think it's important that we do make a submission to alert them, the authorities, that not only should they be looking at just this one project, but what is the cumulative impact of the many projects that are already approved, are in the pipeline for approval as well. So Councillor, I recommend that motion too. Councillor Russell, you have to speak to it.
Really, because I've started to see the wind farms, we're going to take a stand, so. Yeah,
Can I just ask you a question? I can't see the motion at all.
yeah, that's fine.
We're just waiting. It is, it's on the computer.
It has been circulated via email. And I will read it one more time. The motion is that Yass Valley Council makes a submission by April 30th, 2026 under the EPBC process for Neoen's Bondo Wind Farm, specifically addressing the project's impact, along with its potential contribution to the state significant energy project constructed, approved or in scope for our region. Some of the species that have been identified as in the direct development corridor include the endangered Gangan cockatoo, the brown creeper, the Pinella bracciata, the southern greater glider, and the white-throated needletail. Councillors, do I have any further speakers for the motion? Against the motion? Councillor Cameron.
I'm just, I think it's quite,
Sorry, Councillor Cameron.
I'm just sort of questioning why we're going wide on this. Because I think it's specific about this particular wind farm. So you're sort of widening it to the cumulative effect. I have a little bit of concern about that because we haven't seemed to have raised it previously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore, and I know that this is our first opportunity for both council and to actually engage with an EPBC process so far for I might actually just call upon the director who's available to make further comment.
For you, Madam Mayor, and I'm getting very bad echo in this space. Sorry about that. essentially what this submission will look at is the cumulative impacts that will occur, and to make sure that there's been the proper attention brought to the attention of the federal government agency regarding that there are a number of wind farms in this area and they need to be looked at in a cumulative process.
Thank you, Director Neil, and I apologise for the echo that you're experiencing. I know that's very difficult to speak while you're hearing your own voice 2 seconds later. I'll just ask for some further comment from our senior. Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. In New South Wales, a cumulative impact is part of the criteria for assessing wind farms. I think it's certainly something that that should be taken into consideration, noting that this is a Commonwealth piece of legislation, but certainly it's something that, you know, it's an impact that we actually must look at. It's one in isolation as opposed to a number of wind farms together. Certainly has a different impact. Councillors, do I have any further questions or speakers? Councillors, if you're happy to now put this to the vote, all those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to our reports to council, the group after accept. Item 6.1, development application DA 250393, the Function Centre and Service Departments 394 Gooders Creek Road, Current Bateman.
Madam, thank you. I'd like to move the following motion. And if you can get that on the screen. And the motion reads that 1. A conditional development consent under deferred commencement be issued for development application DA 250393 at lot 4DP 1247034 394 Good Creek Road, Murray Bateman. 2. The conditional development consent be under deferred commencement requiring the details of the calculations for stage 1 and stage 2 noise impact assessment to be submitted for validation in accordance with the recommendations of the peer review undertaken by Dr. Robert Bullen. 3. Inclusion of conditions of consent restricting the operations of the temporary marquee stage 1 in the following areas. A. Maximum duration of 3 years. B. Maximum one event which finishes later than 6 p.m. in any 7-day period. And C. Maximum 26 events in any 12-month period. 4. Prior to the commencement of the use of the temporary marquee in stage 1, the applicant is to submit a noise management noise management plan prepared by a qualified acoustic consultant to the satisfaction of council. 5. The noise management plan is to include appropriate operational monitoring and complaint management measures to ensure that noise impacts of surrounding residential properties are minimised. 6. The applicant must comply with the approved noise management plan with substantiated complaints or ongoing issues arise. Council may take appropriate compliance action under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 New South Wales. Point 7. With regard to paragraph 1.7 of the Code of Meeting Practice, Council determines that on balance, this development application is in the public interest and can be overcome by the addition of conditions to mitigate the key issues raised by speakers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Terry. Seconded for that motion. Seconded by Councillor Lee. Councillor Terry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to begin by acknowledging the submissions and objections that have been made to this DA. I genuinely appreciate the time and effort that residents have taken to put their opinions forward, particularly those living in close proximity with adjoining properties. These submissions have not been disregarded or ignored. They reflect genuine concerns about amenity, about daily impacts, and about how change is occurring within the immediate living environment. I want to acknowledge that publicly and respectfully. As a resident of Murray Bateman, I am acutely aware of how council decisions affect our community. These are not abstract planning issues, they go directly to quality of life and to the broader question of social cohesion in the Yass Valley. In my role as Yass Valley Council's Chair of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, I see firsthand the importance of supporting economic growth across the LGA. So I approach this matter from both perspectives, understanding the need to enable responsible development, but also the need to manage its impacts. We are a growing LGA, and with that comes the responsibility to manage change appropriately. This motion is not about restricting development. It is about getting the balance right, particularly where impacts are felt most directly by nearby residents. The staff report makes it clear that stage one, being the use of a temporary marquee, represents the greatest challenge, particularly in relation to noise. At the same time, there is a clear and legitimate role for this type of development in supporting the local economy, particularly in a region like Murrumbidgee, where tourism and event-based activity are already well established. There are over 20 well-known wineries operating in the region, and this part of the Yass Valley has become a recognised destination for visitors from the ACT and beyond. Developments of this nature sit within the broader visitor economy, and when managed properly, a rising tide lifts all ships across the region. So the question for me has been, how do we as a consent authority enable that to happen whilst recognising and responding to the concerns of nearby residents? This motion works within the framework and recommendations already provided by our planning director, Mr. Andrew Neal, and his staff. It supports the deferred commencement approach and the further validation of the noise model. Importantly, it also introduces clear and practical limits to stage one. It reduces the number of events, limits the frequency of late events, and it makes it clear that the marquee is a temporary feature that requires a noise management plan, so that impacts are actively managed in practice, not just assessed on paper. In simple terms, it allows the development to proceed in a controlled and measured way that reflects and is cognizant of the concerns raised by our community. I want to be crystal clear. For me, this is not about favouring one argument over another. It is about recognising that both perspectives are valid. Residents are entitled to amenity and certainty, and proponents are also entitled to a fair and reasonable pathway forward. What this motion does is set those boundaries early, particularly in stage one, which we know carry the highest level of risk. On balance, in all things considered, I am confident that with these conditions in place, the impacts can be managed appropriately, and that this represents a reasonable and equitable outcome for both the applicant and the community. For those reasons, I commend the motion to you, my fellow. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Cho. I now provide the opportunity for the seconder to speak.
I don't think it requires me to say anything, Madam Mayor. We have said it all right then and there. So.
Thank you, Councillor Moffat. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Councillor Flannery.
No.
I'll just ask you to pop on the line. Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, may I ask a question for the planning environment? So I concur with the comments made by Councillor about the need to support businesses in Murrumbidgee and growth area. There's a need for it. I also have clear memories of Dazzle Dance being, the issues associated with Dazzle Dance being put to council a number of times. And so, Director Neal, my questions to you are, if we support this motion, what real teeth does the council have in stopping, events all the time? Once the noise levels might rise, it's happened. It's similar to a dog barking. You have to keep a diary. You have to do all of these things. What gives the community assurance that we, as a council, have set the criteria and can't be challenged as it was with Dazzle Dance?
The delay.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Duplicate everywhere.
In this situation, the conditions of consent will be such that any non-compliance can be met with a stop work order if required, once the appropriate evidence and background searches and investigations have been undertaken by council staff. So there is a clear mechanism for council to become involved and to stop any areas of non-compliance if it's demonstrated that they have occurred.
I respect what you're saying. That also puts a burden on our regulatory areas. And as you describe in evidence here, as you do in central fairness, my concern is around
how do we allow something to happen,
Mark's
to
turning
allow
out. Was
hundreds
Andrew's voice just then?
people to go there, whilst also respecting the many people that have bought their houses there, probably bought there because they didn't want to.
It's probably too loud.
And although you can collect noise levels and things, it just seems that it makes it difficult to control something once it's happened. I guess that's my concern. As in the original proposal, which didn't allow the marquee, first of all, seems to stymie the growth of this, or that it seems to stop the noise problem issue.
So sorry, I would love to interrupt, but I thought you were asking a follow-up question.
It was
So
that is the question. Sorry, direct. My question is, I understand that if the council supports the amended motion and that the proponents don't comply, or if there's non-compliance issues and the residents are concerned, the council is then required to collect, or the proponents are the proponents required to collect all the information, or is council required to collect all the information, putting a burden on our regulatory area, which is already stressed, and we don't even manage barking dogs?
thank you, Councillor Flannery. I'll give the opportunity for the Director to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this is consistent with conditions of consent that are proposed on all development applications. There is the need for the insurance. The council can observe and make sure that compliance is achieved. So there's no difference between this and any other application in that space.
Thank you, Director. Now we move to Councillor Cameron, who was speaking against, because Councillor Flannery was
Yes, thank you very much. Look, it may surprise people, but I'm basically in favour of what the recommendation that was presented by the staff. I thought that was a very good piece of work because it was a good compromise, particularly in regard to stage one. I think if you have a look at in the business papers, stage one, in regard to number 0.3, development consent is not granted for the erection of the marquee for use as a temporary function centre for the following reason. A condition of consent which required compliance is not considered to represent a practical and reasonable way in which to control the noise level and noise impact in nearby sensitive receptors from the amplified music associated with the nature of the proposed use. So I think the staff have come up with quite a reasonable recommendation where the noise issue, which seemed to become paramount over the last couple of weeks, rather than a whole host of other issues that were originally suggested. I think this is the recommendation from staff. This appeals to me because it's a good compromise. It allows development, but the noise issue is substantially reduced and minimised completely. I think the motion before us from Councillor Cherry is meandering to a compromise that will not be satisfactory to many people.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Do I have any further speakers for the motion? Do I have any speakers against the motion? Councillor Barton.
That's a good question. I suppose about my book. Can I ask a question, Madam Mayor, to the Director, through you to the Director of Planning and the Environment? I suppose there's two questions, and one follows on, I think, a little bit from the nature of questioning from Councillor Flannery. What we faced with Dazzle Dance was a proposal that they effectively put forward and was then approved and then was questioned, and we've had a number of variations on that over time. When it comes to the compromise proposed by Councillor Cherry, is that a compromise that is understood and accepted by the lodger of this particular development application? In the sense that I understood at question time that the proponent was asking for effectively almost unlimited use of the site. So I'm just worried that we're running into the same kind of conversation. So can you talk to us about the nature of the proponent's acceptance of this particular limit on the operation of the site?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I haven't had any conversations with the applicant regarding this amendment, so I can't comment on any impact on their business operations.
Thank you, Director Neil. I believe there's a thought, Mr. Huston.
So I want to ask a little bit about fire prevention, which is mentioned briefly in the report. We've had a number of instances where, particularly with respect to Myron Bateman, there's been concerns from the police with respect to safety in spaces, and we had that around the playground, for example, when we were talking about particular sites. The problem, of course, is Myron Bateman's a growing area, and yes, there's not a 24-hour police station. Is there any discussion within the proponent, or from the proponent, with respect to added security on the site? And there's a sub-question to that, which is you talk about controlled access. Could you explain what controlled access means in this particular instance and how that will be exercised on a largely rural block?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the restriction on the number of people that can attend any given function on that site will be governed by the operators. I understand that they will be on site for all functions and events that occur. They will be responsible for ensuring the compliance in that space. Traditionally, for these kind of functions, being more your weddings and things like that, you have a very set guest list. There will be people who are on site to control who is in attendance and to try and limit any outside people attending.
Thank you, Director Neil. Do I have any further speakers against the motion? Do I have any further speakers for the motion? Councillors, I would just like to add to in support of Councillor Cherry's motion that what we are dealing with is a primary production zone as opposed to a rural residential zone. And there is a distinction in what kind of activities can take place and the kind of noise that you might expect in those areas. We do have a precedent of approving a marquee, which was approved for 3 years in Wallaroo as part of the 196 Brooklands Road development application. I note that in Councillor Cherry's motion there is a reduction in the allowable days and the number of patrons, reducing it to 80 to account for the size and the amenity concerns around the market. So I can amend the motion. Councillors, if there's no further speakers for or against, I'll ask all those in favour? That's Councillor Cherry, Jones, Burgess, Butler, Rothwell and McGrath. The motion is passed. Those against? Councillors Carter, Family, and thank you. Moving on to item 6.2, the PA 250659 shed, room, spa, deck, and retaining wall, 11 Manfair Drive, Dungeon. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us that consent is issued. Do I have a motion? So move Councillor Butler. Second. Councillor Butler. Councillors, we have a speakers for and against. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Moving on to item 6.3, the plan proposal for lot 2 DP 1144975 Wallaroo Road, Wallaroo, post extradition. Do I have any motion? Yeah. So moved, Councillor Cunningham.
No.
Oh, sorry.
I have a motion.
Please go.
The motion I have distributed. Therefore, to have a bit of a look at. I'm not sure if the director's seen Please, motion, is it coming up on the, coming up now?
I have a separate email version of it.
You okay with that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there's some significant legislative issues with the proposed motion. It addresses clause 4.15 of the Environmental Planning Assessment Act, which is not a matter which applies to planning proposals. It only applies to development applications. Therefore, unfortunately, I don't know whether we can proceed with this motion.
If I could ask on behalf of the councillor to the director, if the removal of step 3, if that was removed, does it substantially make it a legal motion?
Sorry, I'm just flipping across the screen to it. Point 1 explicitly references the issues under section 4.15, which, as I mentioned, is for development assessment only. Once again, section 2 references 4.15, which would be a matter for consideration for any future development applications over the site, but can't be given any consideration for finalisation of a planning proposal. Point 3, once again, references 4.15, but it is important to note that there is ongoing consultation with both the state and federal agencies responsible for the protection of biodiversity and conservation. Point 4, once again, 4.15. And point 5 is a matter that's already dealt with under the Act, and any application that's made prior to amendments to the Act are covered by transitional arrangements. So once again, would be in contradiction of the actual legislation.
I think I might withdraw this motion. Thank you, Director.
That is with our gratitude. Thank you, Councillor Campbell.
Right.
Councillors, with the recommendation of the business paper, so moved Councillor Carey. Seconded Councillor Rockland. Councillor Taylor would like to speak to the motion. Councillor Rockland. Councillors, do we have any speakers for or against the question? Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Yes, I will speak against the recommendation, which is unusual for me, because I like to support the staff as much as I possibly can. Look, when I first looked at this one, I thought, oh yeah, this will be a fairly straightforward sort of motion that we'll all agree on and it'll get through nice and easy. But I think it could still be the case. Yes, I don't expect much. I live in Miracle, but we may get one tonight, who knows. I think it raises a whole lot of questions about things, and it raises more questions than it answers. I think it was a gateway determination in June last year, a meeting that I was not at, and therefore I'm unfamiliar with the discussion of that particular one. But it raises a number of questions. The first question for me is about gateway determination. And I think from my point of view, I talked recently to an experienced councillor about gateway determination, and he said to me that a gateway determination is a way of saying that council believes this to be a good idea that meets planning requirements. And therefore, it's not surprising that most gateway determinations come back regarding acceptance of the idea. So this doesn't surprise me that this has come back in this format, that we should go ahead with this particular thing. I think recently we were told that this was a way that the LEP, which was initially done in 2013, this was a way that we could keep on keeping the LEP live and updated on a progressive basis. But it's a very piecemeal way of doing things, and I think it's very limited because it does look at things case by case and can be very limited. the LEP was supposed to be, in my understanding, was supposed to be updated every 5 years. So that we missed out on 2018, we missed out on 2023, and I'm sure we won't miss out on 2028, where it's planned to be finally looked at in totality. I think we need to have a look at the LEP in depth, because I think this does give people a picture of what is expected by this council in regard to the planning across the board. So we do have some issues in regard to that. What I was trying to do in regard to the motion that I put up that hasn't really gone ahead is a number of things. I think we need to be much more aware of conservation and the importance of conservation in regard to areas of land that have been set aside. I find this a really strange sort of story, because basically this land was put aside as an offset to ACT development, and it was Commonwealth land, and then somewhere along the line it's been bought by the ACT, and the ACT are now using that in conjunction with the Parkwood developers to use that in terms of getting this substation here. And I think one of the questions that I find nowhere has it been explained why the North Belconnen substation has to be moved to another area. That hasn't been explained. Is the North Belconnen one too old, too small, whatever? I think the answer could be that it's looking at potential for Parkwood to be developed in a longer period of time. When I was talking to the director at the last meeting on Tuesday, when we were having a bit of a discussion about a number of things, I got the impression that the land was RU1 and is being moved to C3. I can't understand why it's not C2 instead of C3, because it has been remarked here that an electrical substation can be zoned anywhere it likes, basically, which is something I didn't know. So it doesn't really, in a sense, make any difference to me whether it's C3 or C2. The advantage with C2, of course, is that that would be more overall protection for the whole area rather than just a minor point. To finish up, I just want to say, one of the things that we have with development across Yass Valley Council is this concept of an offset. And what's happening here is we have an offset that's being changed, but it was set up to be a biodiversity area in the local area nearby where the development's occurring. And this is going to change. You're basically saying, oh yeah, we'll have an offset here, but in the future it can be changed, so don't worry too much about it. And I'm sure that the consultation with the locals around this area was extensive, but I think conservation across the Yass Valley Council is becoming more and more, LGA I meant to say, is becoming more and more important, and I think it should be given much more consideration. Thank you.
We identified the land and substation as the boundaries by the industry. There is often areas in the substation that to
Worried about consultation is only a visual picture they use to improve detailed design and require on education with simulation.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask a further question. I think I read somewhere in the notes that Parkwood was going to have its own substation. Am I right or wrong with that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there is a potential within the DCP for smaller local level substations may be provided as part of the overall development context. Once again, this will be subject to future applications that will really flesh all of these details out. What this planning proposal does is identify an area where one may potentially be located into the future, subject to additional works.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Neil. Do I have any further speakers for or against this item? I'll now ask Councillor Cherry to close if he so wishes, and he relinquishes that right. So let's vote on this. All those in favour, councillors? Councillors Carter, Cherry, Jones, Burgess, Butler, Rothwell, McGrath. Those against? Councillors Stanley and Cameron. The motion is passed. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 6.4, Parkwood Development Control Plan 2026 First Exhibition. We have a recommendation before us, councillors, that we receive the submissions in response to that exhibition, that they be noted, and that we adopt the Parkwood Development Control Plan 2026 with a commencement date of July 1st of this year. So moved, Councillor Carter. Seconded, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Carter, you have the floor should you wish. Councillor Carter. Oh, sorry, Councillor Cameron.
Wow.
Things are moving too quickly for me. Sorry. You used to be sitting there. Sorry.
I didn't.
I have.
It's his fault.
Just as the seconder of this motion, it was a delight to read the DCP. There's so much in there that we could learn from or we could take on board. But I'll just draw your attention to page 724 of the attachments. Yes, well into the attachments. Well, you may have missed this, but it talks about tree canopy is pivotal to managing the impacts of urban heat island effect. And they're suggesting 30% tree canopy. And when we had the recent discussion about the tree management policy, I think it was identified that YAS was at about 15%. And they also suggested moving towards 30% streetscape being permeable surface area as a passive water solution. So I think this DCP is excellent and well worth people's attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron, and I might just give an opportunity for Executive to make comment, as this is a large body of planning work that's been continued for some time, and the adoption is quite exciting. Yes. Director Neil, would you like to speak to the item?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on this one. This is the culmination of many long years of work in getting the controls for Parkwood to be a really good example of what successful urban development can look like and what successful urban development can look like for YAS. We've picked up a lot of elements that are really best practice, picked up elements that are consistent with what is happening on the ACT side of the development to ensure a seamless development outcome that creates some really positive environments for future residents of YAS. And it's really exciting to be able to be involved with this and see it move forward to a successful DCP, and we look forward to welcoming some development applications into the future.
And that'll be upon us sooner rather than later, I'm sure. Councillors, do I have any further speakers for or against this item? Offer the opportunity for the mover to close. All right, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to items 6.5, the development application update, February-March 2026. We have a recommendation that the report be noted. Do I have a mover? So moved, Councillor Carter. Seconded, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Carter, would you like to speak to the item? Councillor Flannery?
Yes, I can't quite recall at which meeting, but I understood, through you, Madam Mayor, through to the Director of Planning and Environment, that you firmly agreed that we needed that graph to have the number of development sites. I'm pretty sure it was either the last meeting, there was generous nodding, and of course I'll do it for you. I'm not great at reading graphs, but I cannot see the number of developments. I can see on the one side average assessment days and then the time. Am I not reading that correctly? I just thought that we were having a number of developments on there as well. And they may be on there, I just haven't quite read the report maybe correctly.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, you are correct. We will make a note of that, and we will make sure that does come up to the next one that is presented to council.
Thank you. That would be appreciated because that was promised at the last one.
Okay, councillors, do I have any further speakers for or against this motion? I'll offer the opportunity to close. All right, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillor.
A recommendation. But there'll be development. The number of developments will be. Do I need to put a recommendation? We've voted.
I'm sorry, councillor Flannery. That opportunity while you were standing to amend it is now passed because we've now voted on the motion.
So am I able just to ask a general question?
I'm sorry that the item is passed, but I am making a note on the business paper and I'll attend to a follow-up email and include you in it to ensure this is in the business paper for next meeting. Councillors, moving on to item 6.6, and I note that Councillor Burgess has already left, who's very efficient. We have the Bango Wind Farm Community Enhancement Fund, 25-26. And we have a recommendation to endorse the committee's recommendation for funding allocation. So moved Councillor Cameron, seconded Councillor Grant. Councillor Cameron, you have the floor.
Fine.
Councillor McLeod. Do I have any speakers for or against the motion?
Very quickly, sure, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to, I guess, extend my appreciation to Councillor Alan McGrath, who chairs this committee. I know that as the council representative on the community consultative committees for the wind farms, there's always a lot of talk about the community enhancement funds, and they always attract a lot of broad range and diverse applications. And it's wonderful to see that so many great organisations, not-for-profits and charity groups and sporting clubs are getting the recognition and are getting the support. And I once again extend my appreciation to Councillor McGrath and his committee. So thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Alan.
Councillors, do we have any further speakers for or against? Councillor Cutter, if Councillor Flannery could ask her question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not quite sure who I asked the question through, so maybe through you, Madam Mayor. I noticed that every one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 recipients, 14 of the 15 are clubs or associations, community groups, not-for-profits. But we have one Highclere Farm, which has, so I understand it to be a private investment, and I just was wondering under which criteria is the Bango Wind Farm Community Enhancement Fund allowed to have a private investment? I have another question after that, but maybe that one first. I'll turn my thing off.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. And I would hazard a guess that it's probably under economic development, but I will through our CEO to the Director of Community and Corporate, Ms. Peter Gardner.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the VPA arrangements for this committee allows any organisations to apply for funding. In the case of this application, it was viewed that it provided a more holistic benefit to the LGA, and that's why it was accepted and recommended for.
If I can provide the councillor with additional information. For example, the Highclere Farm was the location for the Music in the Meadows event, which was a regionally significant event, including grants that were secured that provided the Canberra Symphony Orchestra to attend. And I believe it was, yes, and Seniors Week as well. They hosted that event. Yep.
I'm not denying the merit of the community events. I was just interested because I understood it. I just think that would show a bit of transparency in terms of who is allowed to apply, because you might have other groups that might like to apply. My second question is, do you feel, perhaps this is to you, Councillor McGrath, that the butter is spread a bit thin, that we're only giving, these are big companies, big investments, and we're giving 5,000 here and 1,000 there. Do you feel that our community is just being kind of given a little bit of incentive by the Bango Wind Farm, and that in actual fact, more substantive funding should be allocated to our important community groups?
Absolutely agree with you, Councillor. I don't intend to expand on it.
Councillor Flannery, I think many of us around the table would be in violent agreement that the small pebbles handed out to our community for hosting such significant, state-significant infrastructure with great impact on our community should be manifold in its give back to our community.
Sorry, my last final one. So are we therefore going to write to the Bango Wind Farm and say, thanks, but really you can do better?
I think the CEO is eager to respond.
As much as we would like to, Councillor Flannery, this is tied in a VPA agreement, which can't be amended.
Councillors, do I have any further speakers for? Thank you, Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's a question as well, but while I agree with the sentiment that the butter could be thicker, I suppose, but the broad question I think is there are 23 applications deemed eligible. Could there be a little bit more? I assume this is to the Director of Corporate and Community, or it could be to Councillor McGrath. Why were the other projects not funded, or more importantly, what guidance could we give to submitters in the future to help them understand what would be useful for them in terms of future funding? In the sense that all dollars matter to any community organisation.
Councillor McGrath.
Look, it's difficult to please everyone, Councillor Carter. The committee considered all the applications very carefully. Now, you could have reduced what you gave to one so that you give more to another, but in so doing, there might be an organisation that's above the 5,000, say you offer to give them 2.5, they can't proceed. They need that 5,000. So I think our committee gave attention to all the applications, and I think the result that we came out with was really quite. I think we're all pretty satisfied with the outcome. We'll have another round next year. It might be organisations that have missed out this year. We'll get that nod next time, because I'm quite sure that we will, when we consider the next round, we'll be looking at what we've done last year. So we're going to be as equitable as we can to the applicants.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath, and also call upon our Director through the CEO, Ms. Peter Gardner.
Thanks. Through you, Madam Mayor. The other component that the committee talked about, which isn't documented because we've planned another meeting for September, but just to please you, is to cordon off a third of the funds and collate them into a larger amount so that we can get some expressions of interest from the community about larger scale projects that need more money rather than these sweet treats, and have them be funded over a longer period of time.
And further to that, I'll call upon the CEO to speak no doubt towards the future fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I'd just like to say this is why it's so important that we come up with a Community Enhancement Fund policy that is currently in draft and will be presented back to a future meeting, to be able to look at long-term legacy projects for our community and not the sweet treats or the sugar hits that we often see from as a result of these wind farms. So we would like to see more legacy building projects being delivered for our community out of these funds.
If there's no further speakers for or against, if I could call upon Councillor Cameron to close. Thank you, councillors. Let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. If you could recall Councillor Burgess. Thank you. Councillors, let's keep proceeding. Item 6.7, the Bowling Hall support request. We have a recommendation that Council notes the costs identified in support of the Bowling Hall Centenary Community Event in May 2026 and provides in-kind support to the total approximate value of $300. So moved, Councillor Flannery. And seconded, Councillor McGrath. Councillor Flannery, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think the this is a wonderful community project. The Bounding community, really do invest in their community and try to make their assets last for another 100 years, and let's all hope it does. And just, I think that the $300 that we're providing as in-kind support is great, but I just really wonder, and this is kind of, I've been thinking about this since listening to the Health Minister yesterday about the NDIS and about program design. And $300 of in-kind support, someone's had to type that up in council, get all these consultations. Surely as a council we can sort of make these in-kind for this community group. We could say anything under $1,000, it's to the executive's discretion. I really think that giving some bins here and there and us having to vote on it is just a waste of our time, although I really do think it does do a bit to promote the event. So that's my piece. I firmly support it. I would really, now that I know I need to move a recommendation, that we as a council to the next meeting come forward with some ideas about how we can reduce our cost and improve our efficiency.
Councillor Flannery, Councillor Butler has already beat you to that in a former motion, which I understand we have a...
It wasn't a race.
No, sorry. In identifying this exact problem, and a policy is underway as I understand it. If I could ask the CEO to follow up.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would love to be able to not present these minor issues and make it a decision. Unfortunately, under the Act, I have no ability to waive fees and charges, and particularly when it comes to bin collection, where we pay at our landfill that's outside of our region at a gate fee, it's not within our control. So what we're trying to do through our governance officer is come up with a policy that will address these type of situations in the future that still meets the legislative response. So it is a work in progress.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's coming to you next month.
Is that at the extraordinary one, or is that?
Yeah.
So I'm not here for that.
Yeah, so it's part of the extraordinary meeting because it does actually impact our budget, and so it's going up as part of the budget process.
I recognise that we do have to comply with all our regulation, blah, blah, blah. We should have some role as councillors to delegate a certain amount of authority to you, But, I mean, it does cost us more to write this paper, to put it in the book, than it does to give 2 bins out,
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Do I have any further speakers for or against the motion?
Question to that effect, Madam Mayor. I do believe from a previous council term, Councillor McGrath had a discretionary fund as mayor. Is that something that we're looking at? Wonderful. Thank you.
been a little tight over this last 2 years.
A bit lean.
Councillors, do I have any further speakers for or against? Provide the opportunity for the mover to close. Councillor Flannery. Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay, moving on to the Gundaroo Community Assets, we have a recommendation to endorse the funding allocation by the Gundaroo Community Association and Council Executive Team as prepared by that partnership. Do I have a mover? So moved, Councillor Burgess. Seconded, Councillor Cherry.
Okay, you get jump on this one.
The council used to always help all these, especially the hall and the park, not the common or the community association, but I think it's great that the council's doing something with the hall and the lit kids. I was trustee of that for a long time, and it needs some really good repairs. And the hall is pretty good, but there's a bit of white ant in it. You've got to get that fixed. And the common, the fence has fallen over. I built the fence there years and years and years.
So it's your fault?
No,
Thank you, Councillor Burgess. Councillor Cherry.
Very quickly, Madam Mayor, I'm very happy to support this in the sense that I would like to acknowledge all the great work that the Gundaroo Community Association have, but not only the Gundaroo Community Association, but all the subsidiary committees that they control, that I guess they have a lot of involvement with. And clearly, this is something that gets mentioned every time. I know the last time we were there, when we gave Phil Gaden his Citizen of the Year award, it was one of the key discussion points, and obviously your commitment to them in that room is very important, and clearly we're following through with that. And I commend you on that, and thank you to the CEO for doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cherry. Do I have any further speakers for or against the motion?
I just have one question, and I'm sorry, I probably should know this, but why does council not own or manage any of these assets?
I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Actually, I think I might defer to Councillor.
yeah, well, it used to be Gunning Shire, used to own it was in Gunning Shire, but all these places in Gundaroo has got trustees. There've been trustees there all the time. I've been on a lot of them as trustees, so that's why it's there, and that's why the council don't own anything there. It's all
established by the community.
Yeah, that's right.
Rather than the council.
So they were established like gifted or something, Crown Land, something like that. Yeah.
By the community.
It was gifted by Affleck.
Yeah, I thought so.
They was old people that come there. And one of them was a parliamentarian in the New South Wales government years ago. That's why it's all there.
Much better response than I could have done. Just after my 1 year here, so thank you.
Councillors, do I have any further speakers for or against the motion? I take it that's closing. Sorry, closing, Councillor Burgess. All right, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 6.9, the correction to the long-term financial plan grants income error. Our recommendation is to note this report and place on public exhibition the updated 25-26 and 2034 to 35 long-term financial plan for 28 days, and it be adopted if no submissions are received. Can I have a move? Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Seconded. Councillor Carter. Councillor Flannery, you have the floor.
I understand it's not a good news in terms of finding there was an error in our accounting system. My feeling, and I guess my sentiment is, I think that the council executive and staff are doing an exceptional job trying to really find what is the truth in our financial area in terms of a local government trying to manage itself, not a home budget, not a business budget, but we have rules and regulations that are quite specific to local government. And so every meeting I've been in for the last year and a half or almost 2 years, we've come up with a new scenario, which is not great because you sort of want to look at your books and go, oh yeah, that's correct. And I can understand the community's feelings, like, oh, do they know what they're doing? And I think that's a really important question. We are trying our very best, and we thank all the staff involved for working very long hours in trying to really get down to basics, strip the budget bare, and then go back to the community and say, this is our situation and this is where we are. So although, as I said, it's not a good message, it's one that we might have a difference. We might find something next week. I was hoping that there was going to be a little pot before we found this week, but I do thank the staff and other councillors in trying to really understand our financial position before making any further decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery, and I appreciate your words of support for our staff. Councillor Carter, with your grace, if I could just ask the CEO to make a comment, and then we'll go to our seconder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Flannery, for acknowledging the work that the executive are doing. Can I just say this came to light 6 o'clock before the Easter long weekend for the Director of Corporate and Community Services and myself. And to say that the wind was taken out of our sails is an underestimation. We have been working so hard to improve our budget. We had what we thought was a $10 million deficit when we commenced, but it was actually more like a $14 or $15 million based on what we've been able to find now. We turned that around to about a $2.5 million deficit, which is now a $6-7 million deficit. What I can say is that the work that we have done to progress in our financials and to make savings and to really look at our long-term financial plan is still valid. It is the equivalent of us running a marathon. We thought we were 20 kilometres in, which is about halfway, and then someone told us we're doing an ultra marathon and moved the goalpost out to 100 kilometres. The 20 kilometres is still as valid as what it was beforehand. It's just that we've got a long way to go. We, as the executive, wanted to make sure that we put this in front of the councillors and the community at the earliest opportunity, and this is it. Which is a little bit odd because we are presenting to you a new long-term financial plan come next month as part of our IPNR documents, but we thought it was very important to be transparent with our community, especially leading into the IPNR process. We are looking at some very innovative ways that we can, I suppose, to address this situation, which we hope to have more information to present to council at the extraordinary May council meeting. But for now, it's about us going through, keep on going. Can I say that this is it? Probably not, because we have been here a year, and we are uncovering a variety of areas, and this one, unfortunately, was because you don't know what you don't know. And I had been here, I think, a matter of weeks, 3 weeks before we had presented the draft financial plan the first time. Now we do know. Now we've corrected it. Now our journey is a bit longer. Thank you.
Thank you to our CEO. Councillor Carter.
Thank you. It's flashing green. I don't know what that means, but all right, no, it's red. That's exciting. I read this report carefully, and I can't work out why, and that's the biggest problem for me. Could I actually request an amendment to the motion, which is that a report is brought back to council explaining the reasons why this grant was overstated? It's a pretty big problem, and I'd really request the support of Councillor Flannery in that amendment. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll speak to it if that's okay.
I'm happy.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. I believe the CEO would like to respond as well.
Councillor Carter, it is, there was 2 grants or 1 grant? 2 grants, yep, right, that are non-recurring grants, which were identified as recurring grants. So in terms of the income, we identified that as we're now at that, and so they were disaster recovery grants. Obviously they are, you fix it and they're done. And what had been done was that they had carried every year and been indexated each year thereafter. So we've worked out that obviously they are not going to continue. Fingers crossed we don't have another disaster that would warrant some sort of disaster recovery funding. And I also think it's important to say that we are in a point where we're seeing probably the least amount of grant funding available from state and federal government on the back of what was unprecedented grant funding on the back of droughts, bushfires, floods and COVID back to back. So it is a very, not only is it a drought, Councillor Burgess, but it's a drought in the grant funding as well. So that's why we sought to, that's why it's become very apparent for us that this is not recurring.
Can I continue to speak to that? I think one of the reasons that I think it's still important at one level, and maybe it's not just about this particular question with respect to grant funding, but we do know that our auditors over the last 3, 4, 5 years have consistently picked up that there are concerns around the sophistication of how Yass Valley Council is accounting for grant funding more generally. And so perhaps that we could extend that slightly to a report stating how we can be confident with respect to the ongoing approach to grants accounting within council, because at the moment there does seem to be a series of issues, both in terms of how things are recognised, and this is a pretty significant accounting issue, and would cause us concerns. But also, all the conversations we've had around potential things like special rate variations and the like, and I'm assuming we've notified Mr. Whitworth about this, for example, but this puts us in a much more steeper hole to some degree, with an ongoing impact of approximately $5 million of funding being replicated through the accounts moving forward. So I think I would like to see some information to give me confidence that we are dealing better with grant funding moving forward, that we know what the issues are, that we can address what the audit reports have mentioned to us repeatedly, and that, as we've been trying to tidy up house around lots of accounting procedures, it'd be really good to have that confidence moving forward. So I have to just extend that to a report concerning our accounting practices with respect to grant funding, or something similar might be a better report.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. I've got here, I've just been listening to you, a report back to Council and ARIC Committee on our future grant accounting strategy. Is that acceptable?
Accounting practices.
Practices, yes.
I think it needs to be practices because the strategy is going forward.
Sorry, I'll just seek some advice from the Director of Community and Corporate.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there was a position paper included in the annual financial statements package and the ARIC minutes from December that included a grants position paper. So that articulates exactly what you're after. We have gone to market to recruit a grants officer, which will also go a long way to helping systemise and tidy up our approach to this. It's just really difficult to find the right person for the role. So that's causing us the greatest frustration at the moment. Did you want me to circulate that paper again?
Was it circulate?
Yes, it was part of the ARIC minutes.
I think it would be.
I saw it.
It was part of ARIC minutes, and it's in. I think it's in this ARIC minutes for here. I think it would be wise to bring it to council for noting. In addition to that, specifically because of this issue, and I think I'm asking a slightly broader question, which is, why will we now have confidence? That was a position paper. Our audit report for this particular period still raises issues with our sophistication of grants accounting. So it's still a relevant issue within our broader accounting practice. And so, yes, there's a couple of things we're doing strategically wise, but I think it would be good for council at least to understand what the practices are, how they will be different from what we've done previously.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. I concur. I think we need to look at it through the lens of this example. Do I have any further speakers for or against this motion?
I just have a question.
Oh, so are you, sorry, are you acceptable with the amendment of report back to council and ARIC on our future grant accounting practices? Do you want a timeline as when we're putting a paper? Oh, and yes, and circulation.
One question.
Is it called the grants position? What was it called?
Grants position, grants officer, oh, the grants position paper.
It could be by May if it's already there. There's not a lot to add to it, but at least some confidence we can have a conversation. So it could be to the May meeting, the May ordinary meeting.
We'll back to the May meeting.
I just have one question. You mentioned the mention of auditors is always an interesting one. What did the auditors look at when they were looking at our grants? So if they've audited our books over the last whatever years, surely they would be looking at our grants and the way we've accounted for them. It's not, whilst I recognise the mistake could be internal in terms of moving money over, auditors should be picking those things up as well.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery, for the question. Now, through the CEO, call upon the Director of Community Corporate.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The error is not technically in the way we're treating grants or in our accounting of grants. It's an assumption applied to the long-term financial plan that has carried on a percentage increase on a dollar value that wasn't scrutinised enough this time last year. And we've identified it this year in doing that process. So we can put forward the paper, but that I hope that answers your question.
Sorry, which goes to my broader question of confidence, which is, how are we going to ensure this is not going to happen again? I understand it's an auditing question, but this is actually also a long-term financial planning question. So confidence, I think that ARIC paper is slightly different. This is a more broader question.
Councillors, I'm just writing the amendment and sending it on. Actually, it might be just faster to assist you. So we provide a report back to Council and ARIC on our future grant accounting. Sorry. Thank you. So the amendment is report back to Council and ARIC on our future grant accounting practices. Just maybe in brackets, May meeting, and circulation of the grants position paper. Councillor Carter, is that an appropriate amendment? As
delighted, Madam.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery, you accept that?
I accept it.
The light on this one.
We're nearly there. Well done, ladies. Councillors, do I have any further speakers for or against this motion? Councillor Cameron.
Seeing that I'm going to vote in favour of this, I'd better say that I'm speaking in favour of the motion. However, ultimately, I'm quite disappointed in how things have emerged. As Council goes along attempting to mitigate the financial difficulties we face, and I do admire the work that has been put in, particularly over the Easter break. I'm sure it was terrible and probably causing a great deal of problems that are coming up from the past. They keep emerging, which causes concern and consternation for those attempting to rectify the situation. And I'm glad I'm not in that particular position. I'm really disappointed, and I'm disappointed in a number of things. I'm disappointed with the Office of Local Government. In Victoria, they have what's called financial advisors, so that when a council gets into difficulties, they can send in a financial advisor to help to rectify the situation. And I only became aware of this because an area that I used to live in, the city of Moonee Valley, they sent in two. They sent in two financial advisors to help rectify the situation. And my understanding at the moment, that was about 3 or 4 years ago. It led me to ask Brett Whitworth why New South Wales didn't do the same thing. It's not the way we do things. We wait until the basically hits the fan and then we send in an administrator. But I would have thought that financial advisors 2 or 3 years ago could have been extremely helpful. I'm a little bit disappointed that my push for a forensic audit by council was not supported when I moved that in late 24. I think council at the time was saying, let's not look backwards, let's look forward. And I can understand that point of view, but if this thing keeps emerging, that we keep on having problems like zombies arising from the grave, we are going to be in situation. I'm also disappointed, extremely disappointed, and I think this comment was made a minute ago, with the ARIC committee. I was on the ARIC committee for a short period of time, but they never raised the issue of, they raised the issue, but in a very sort of meek way, the fact that this council did not have a chief financial officer for some period of time, and I'm talking about years. And I'm also talking about the sacking of a CFO after 17 days or 20 days on the basis that he wasn't suitable. He wasn't suitable because he was going to go to the minister and basically say the situation was not good. It concerns me that this may keep on continuing, so that's why I'm disappointed. But I will vote in favour of a very good recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron, and I'll note that I was present when you asked the question of Mr Brett Whitworth, and I do not recall him describing why they do not use those particular officers in the manner that you suggested, using paraphrase. So I just want to put that on record.
Thank you.
Sorry, we have any further speakers for or against this motion? All right, let's put this to bed. Councillors, all those in favour? Unanimous. Councillors, moving on to the monthly financial report. We have a recommendation that this be noted for March. Councillor Carter.
Madam Mayor, I propose that we shift this into confidential. I've got some questions that I believe are of the nature of commercial and confidence, and I think it'll be wise that we move that into confidential.
Thank you, Councillor Carter.
Second that, Madam Mayor.
Seconded, Councillor Cherry. And we'll just need to note that that comes under item 10A bracket C. Open bracket. Okay, C. Thank you, Ms. Lee. So we're shifting that item into confidential under 10.AC. I'll be at. So I have a vote in favour of this motion being into confidential. That's unanimous. A note to put that in there. Councillors, moving on to item 6.13, the outstanding resolution action sheet. We have a recommendation that the report be received for information. So moved, Councillor Cameron. Seconded, Councillor McGowan. Speak to the item.
Yes, just briefly. I think this is a really good idea. I think it's been lacking for some period of time. I'm not sure whether I'm in favour of the lights, stop signs, etc. I'm a little bit tempted to say it's a bit sort of primary school, but it's very good. It does alert you to that. I also wanted to mention that I was very pleased to see that we're going to do some work on the risk framework and the risk policy, and I just wanted to mention that this is a very important document on climate change that was produced for the council in June 2021. If I was selling this one, I'd say hardly been used, and it's in mint condition, and you should buy it. But I think it's an excellent document, one of the best things available, and we need to take that climate issue into account in the risk assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor McGrath, would you like to speak to the item? Any further speakers for or against? Councillor Cameron, you have the opportunity to.
No,
right, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Moving on to item 6.14, the Yaks Water Treatment Plant Upgrade Project, implementation bi-monthly update report. I'm not sure why. Okay, councillors, we have a motion before us to note the updated report and the works completed on the Yass Water Treatment Plant Upgrade Project. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Seconded, Councillor Carter. Councillor McGrath, you have the floor should you wish.
I just wanted to ask a question, Madam Mayor. I note in the report that the existing water mains in Camas Street and the Maester Street, the existing water main is 100 years old. It's a cast iron water main. Do we have any idea how many cast iron water mains we've got still around the town?
Thank you for the question, Councillor McGrath, and through the CEO to the Director of Infrastructure.
Madam Mayor, you look at our asset system does identify what ones we have that are cast iron. I can get that information for you. I don't have it at the top of my head, but we do have a percentage of our network that is getting very close to that 100 years old, which we're going to start replacing over the next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, do I have any further speakers? Councillor Flannery. Councillor Carter next.
Sorry, do we replace that just because it's old, or do we replace it because it's cast iron can last a long time? And I'm thinking it's probably better than plastic or polythene, you know, plain.
Through you, Madam Mayor, so condition assessable, the condition of the pipe does play a big role in when it needs to be replaced. It has lasted 100 years. It's lived it's outlived its successful life or its expected life. A lot of these are generally replaced due to a lot of water main breaks in the area. So we do understand when they start meeting their extended life that they are due for replacement.
And discoloration of the water, I think.
Councillors, I'll just move to Councillor Carter and apologise for not directing the opportunity to speak to the seconder. Thank you.
Your excuse, Madam Mayor.
How generous.
Thank you. It is a question, and it's again two, I think. This is an interesting question, and it actually relates to long-term financial planning as well. As we move closer towards the completion of this project, my understanding of the nature of the water treatment plant is that it's quite a different costing model in terms of treatment from what we would be used to with our old costing model. I'm wondering how that has been implicated or put into or included within our long-term financial plan. I couldn't see anything different in the accounting systems with respect to water treatment within what I was looking at.
Through you, Madam Mayor, so we don't know that it is actually cost us any more or any less. So we're going to have two different trains of treatment with the new system, or the additional system added to the existing one. There will be the refurbishment of it, but at this point in time, we don't think it's ever actually going to cost any more or less for the treatment of the water at the treatment plant or at the revised treatment plant.
There's a second question, and it's more to do with water security, I suppose. Given that we've just come out of water restrictions, and given that there was lots of excitement around having 100% dam for some time, what is our long-term approach with respect to water sourcing? And we've raised a number of questions in Chamber about large developments that take water, etc., as and water harvesting for themselves. Are we looking at practices with respect to water recycling? Are we looking at developing our alternative sources for water at this particular point in time?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so a short to medium term goal is to get a pipeline from the ACT. So that's for our additional growth identified in Murray Bateman and the surrounding Yass as well, the ultimate scenario. We are working through the feasibility study now of what that pipeline looks like. We're negotiating with the ACT government to have that supply provided to Yass Valley Council. Ultimately, we will then need to go and seek funding to be able to construct that pipeline and have that additional source available to the Yass Valley.
Councillors, I'll also give the opportunity for our CEO to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, as councillors would know, we're about to embark on a substantial review of our settlement strategy. What we have decided to do is to couple that with a review of our water options again to build on the 2022 feasibility study that was done, because we are aware that there's potentially other options available, and as our community continues to grow, not just in Murray Bateman and Yass, but we need to look at broader areas in that as well.
And councillors, just noting that the in-principle agreement from the ACT is for Yass and Murray Bateman, and it is separate from anything to do with Parkwood. Councillors, if we have any further speakers for or against this motion, I'll now call on Councillor McGrath to close. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Moving on to item 6.15, the update on the electricity supply tender process. We have a recommendation that the confidential update provided by the SS Rock as attached be noted. Councillors, do I have a mover? Sorry, thank you, Councillor Carter. Seconded. Councillor Cherry. Councillor Carter, you have the floor. Councillor Cherry, let's put that to the vote. Oh, sorry, I should open the floor to everyone else. Would anyone else like to speak on this item? Okay, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Councillors, item 6.17, the tender for the Yass Valley Culverts upgrade.
6.16, isn't it?
I beg your pardon. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. We have the monthly key incoming and outgoing correspondence, which is a new item for us. We have a recommendation before us that the correspondence be noted. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Seconded, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Cameron, you have the floor.
Yeah, just briefly, I would just like to congratulate the Mayor on such a wonderful letter that she wrote in regard to energy. I've enjoyed reading it. It was a very, very well put letter. So thank you very much for that.
I do listen, Councillor Cameron. Good. I've heard many positive things said around this table to advocate to our ministers, and particularly with the item regarding the essential energy work. There is so much room for improvement within our own community, and we are not alone in this. And I look forward to seeing whether that motion is shortlisted for the National General Assembly.
Good. Good.
Councillors, do I have any further speakers for or against this motion? Would you like to close? No. Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 6.17, the tender YVC IA 15-2026 for the Yass Valley Culvert upgrades. Councillors, we have an opportunity to award the tender. The preferred contractor as outlined in the confidential tender evaluation report, which is attached. Do I have a mover to move the preferred contractor, which is Archon Civil? So moved, Councillor Cameron. Seconded, Councillor McGrath. Councillor Cameron, you have the floor. Any further comments, councillors? Right, happy to put that to the vote. All those in favour? We're now up to item 7.1, the report on social and affordable housing complex for local government, as produced by Councillor Cameron.
I'll move it.
Please do.
Thank you. I got a second? Presume so. Thank you.
Councillor Flattery.
Look, that conference was a one-day conference. It was an excellent conference. There were a lot of councillors there, particularly rural councillors from Gunnedah and right across New South Wales. So not only were there city people there talking about the issue, but there was a wide cross-section of councils represented. There would have been about 90 to 100 people in the room. It was quite good. I just wanted what I put in the report was some examples of what was being done. Obviously, what's being done at Forbes is very interesting, but they did get a parcel of land granted to them for $1, which they then have turned into a greenfields development, which they're doing in stages, but ultimately it'll be 200 houses, and they're doing it in 12 at a time so that they don't flood the market. And it means that from their perspective in Forbes, people can buy a new home there, fairly affordable, move out of existing homes, which creates rental opportunities as well. But it's all very staged, all very managed, and it'll be quite an interesting thing to go and observe. But one thing that I did want to mention, maybe I didn't bring out enough in the report. The key thing I think is that I found from the Sydney people were saying you've got to try and identify who your target market is for affordable housing. Now, you could think that it'd be homeless people, et cetera, et cetera. You know, you can think of a number of different categories. But what was coming up a bit in the city, in Sydney, was that workers who couldn't afford to live in the area that they worked in. They were identifying that in a big way. So one of the things that I think we realise that housing is a problem in our, that housing is a problem in our area, but we don't really have much of an idea of the extent of it in terms of affordable housing, of homelessness, etc. And it would be interesting that when the Economic Development Committee gets going, that if they're looking at the housing policy, which I think there was a draft previously, they could perhaps start to do some research or connect with a group that might do some research on that issue. Good.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Sorry, thank you, Councillor Cameron. Do I have any further speakers for this motion? Against this motion? Let's put that to the vote to note. That's unanimous. Thank you. Councillors, we have for the item, the minutes of the Bango Wind Farm Community Enhancement Fund Advisory Committee. So we'll say adieu to Councillor Burgess for a moment. Councillors, we have before us the minutes for noting. Do I have a mover? So moved Councillor McGrath, seconded Councillor Flannery. Any speakers for or against this item? That's a no. Okay, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. If we could now call back in Councillor Burgess.
Councillor Burgess.
Councillors, will now move our meeting into confidential. If I could have a mover to do so. Thank you, Councillor Carter, seconded Councillor Flannery, and provide the opportunity for anyone to object to that from the gallery. And before former Councillor Kim Turner leaves, I'd just like to acknowledge that that we've had former councillors Jeff Frost and Councillor Kim Turner in the gallery with us, and part of this wonderful project that we are now sitting in was part of the decisions made by the councils that Councillor Kim Turner and Jeff Frost were a part of. And as we say adieu to you, former councillor and former deputy mayor, I'd just like to acknowledge your presence here today. Thank you. Councillors, so we'll just put that to the vote to go into confidential. That's all in favour. And we'll now say goodnight to our viewers online. We will return with the results of the confidential shortly. Thank you. We're now returning from our confidential section of the council meeting, and for item 6.10, council resolved that the monthly financial report for March 2026 be noted, and that 2, a confidential report is presented on debt recovery. Sorry, I'll do that with the mic on this time. Sorry, councillors. That for item 6.10, that the monthly financial report for March 2026 be noted, and that 2, a confidential report is presented on debt recovery and future debt management practices, and that was unanimously supported. Thank you, councillors and staff, and those that attended our public gallery and online for attending our April 2026 ordinary meeting of council, Crago Mill Precinct.
6:21.